Some seas divide continents. The Mediterranean has spent thousands of years doing exactly the opposite. Rather than separating civilizations, it connected them. Its waters became the highways of the ancient world, carrying merchants, explorers, philosophers, and dreamers between three continents: Europe, Africa, and Asia. Along these shores, some of history's greatest civilizations flourished. The Phoenicians mastered maritime trade. The Greeks shaped philosophy and democracy. The Romans built an empire that stretched across much of the known world. Arab scholars preserved and expanded scientific knowledge that would later transform Europe. For centuries, this sea was far more than a body of water. It became a bridge between cultures, a crossroads of languages, religions, and ideas. Even today, the Mediterranean continues to inspire millions of travelers searching for places where history and natural beauty exist in perfect harmony. Throughout this journey, we will visit 10 remarkable coastal towns and cities, places where medieval streets overlook crystal-clear waters, where ancient fortresses still guard natural harbors, and where every sunset tells a story that has unfolded across countless generations. Our journey begins in one of the world's most extraordinary cities, a place where roads were replaced by canals. Welcome to Venice.
Few cities on Earth are as instantly recognizable as Venice.
Built across more than 100 small islands connected by hundreds of bridges, it is unlike anywhere else in the world. There are no busy highways crossing its historic center, no endless streams of traffic. Instead, canals have served as streets for centuries, shaping a city that learned to live in harmony with the sea. Venice was born from necessity. During the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, people fleeing invasions sought refuge among these shallow lagoons. What began as scattered settlements gradually evolved into one of Europe's greatest maritime powers. By the Middle Ages, Venice controlled important trade routes, linking Europe with the Middle East and Asia. Its merchants returned with silk, spices, and precious goods that brought extraordinary wealth to the city. That prosperity transformed Venice into an architectural masterpiece. Magnificent palaces lined the Grand Canal, churches displayed remarkable works of art, and public squares became symbols of civic pride. At the heart of the city stands St. Mark's Square. For centuries, it has welcomed merchants, ambassadors, and travelers arriving from every corner of the Mediterranean. Nearby, St. Mark's Basilica reflects centuries of cultural exchange, blending Byzantine, Gothic, and Renaissance influences into one extraordinary building. Not far away, the Rialto Bridge has connected both sides of the Grand Canal for more than 400 years. It remains one of Venice's most beloved landmarks. Yet perhaps the city's greatest beauty cannot be found in its famous monuments. It reveals itself in quieter moments. A gondola passing beneath a stone bridge, laundry hanging above a narrow canal, the gentle sound of water echoing between centuries-old buildings, and the golden light of sunset transforming the city into a living painting. Venice reminds us that some of humanity's greatest achievements emerge not by conquering nature, but by learning to live alongside it. Leaving Venice behind, our journey follows the northern coast of Italy. Here, rugged mountains plunge directly into the Mediterranean. Hidden among these cliffs are 5 villages that have become symbols of resilience and harmony with nature. Welcome to Cinque Terre. At first glance, Cinque Terre almost seems impossible. Colorful houses cling to steep cliffs overlooking the Mediterranean. Narrow streets weave between centuries-old stone buildings, and tiny harbors shelter fishing boats that still define everyday life. The name Cinque Terre simply means 5 lands. It refers to 5 historic villages: Monterosso al Mar, Vernazza, Cornelia, Manarola, and Rio Maggiore. For generations, life here demanded extraordinary determination. The landscape offered little flat land. So local communities carved thousands of terraces into the mountainsides, creating space for vineyards and small farms. These stone terraces transformed one of Italy's most rugged coastlines into a breathtaking cultural landscape. Today, many of those ancient paths remain. Walking between the villages offers spectacular views where mountains, sea, and human ingenuity blend into a single panorama. Despite welcoming visitors from around the world, Cinque Terre has managed to preserve much of its authentic character. Fishing traditions continue. Small family businesses remain at the heart of village life, and every sunrise still begins with the rhythm of the Mediterranean. Standing above these colorful villages, it becomes easy to understand why this coastline has inspired artists, photographers, and travelers for generations. Cinque Terre is not simply beautiful. It is a reminder that perseverance and respect for nature can create landscapes unlike any other. Our next destination appears almost suspended between the mountains and the sea. A village where every balcony faces the Mediterranean, where narrow stairways replace busy streets, and where every sunset paints the cliffs in shades of gold. Welcome to Positano. Few places capture the romance of the Mediterranean quite like Positano. Built upon steep cliffs along Italy's Amalfi coast, the village appears to flow naturally toward the sea. Its pastel-colored homes seem stacked one above another, creating one of the world's most iconic coastal skylines. Centuries ago, Positano was an important maritime settlement. Today, it is celebrated for a different reason: its extraordinary beauty. Walking through Positano means climbing narrow stairways lined with flowering balconies, artisan boutiques, and quiet cafes. Every turn reveals another breathtaking view of the Mediterranean. Above, church domes rise against the blue sky. Below, fishing boats drift peacefully across turquoise waters. Yet despite its international fame, Positano has never lost the charm of a traditional coastal village. Life still follows the rhythm of the sea. Mornings begin quietly. Afternoons unfold beneath the Mediterranean sun. And as evening approaches, visitors gather along terraces overlooking the coastline. Then something remarkable happens. The setting sun bathes the cliffs in golden light. The houses glow with warm shades of orange and pink. And for a few unforgettable moments, the entire village seems suspended between land, sea, and sky. Positano reminds us that true beauty often lies not in grand monuments, but in the perfect harmony between nature and human creativity. Our journey across the Mediterranean has only just begun. So far, we have explored cities built upon water, villages carved into cliffs, and coastlines shaped by centuries of human perseverance. But ahead lie elegant seaside promenades, ancient fortified cities and breathtaking harbors where history continues to live alongside everyday life. The Mediterranean still has many stories to tell, and our voyage is far from over. The Mediterranean is a sea of remarkable contrasts. In some places, dramatic cliffs plunge into deep blue waters. Elsewhere, elegant promenades invite visitors to slow their pace and simply enjoy the view. Every coastline tells a different story. Some speak of artists seeking inspiration. Others recall powerful republics, medieval kingdoms, and centuries of maritime trade. As our journey continues, we will visit 3 destinations that reveal 3 very different faces of the Mediterranean. The elegance of the French Riviera, the quiet charm of a small Catalan fishing village, and one of Europe's most spectacular fortified cities. Our first stop welcomes us with sunshine, palm trees, and one of the world's most famous seaside boulevards. Welcome to Nice. Nestled in the heart of the French Riviera, Nice has been one of the premier havens of the European Mediterranean for centuries. Yet its story begins long before it became a tourist destination. Founded by Greek colonists over 2 millennia ago, the city was named Nicaea in honor of the goddess of victory. Yet it wasn't until the 19th century that it rose to unprecedented international prominence. The British aristocracy discovered that its mild climate offered a welcome respite from the harsh winters of northern Europe. Soon, grand villas, hotels, and sweeping promenades were constructed to accommodate these distinguished guests. The most famous of these is the Promenade des Anglais, an elegant avenue hugging the Mediterranean that, even today, remains the social heartbeat of the city. Strolling along it is to witness locals and travelers alike enjoying the very same daily ritual. Cyclists cruising the coast, couples walking at sunset, and people sitting by the shore, lost in the ebb and flow of the waves. Nice also captivated countless artists. The extraordinary quality of its light drew painters who found endless inspiration in its landscapes. Henri Matisse lived here for decades, utterly fascinated by the intensity of the Mediterranean colors. The city strikes a delicate balance between elegance and authenticity. Its old town, known as Vieux Nice, invites you to lose yourself in narrow cobblestone alleys, bustling with lively markets, artisan bakeries, and intimate squares. The air is rich with the aroma of herbe de Provence and fresh local produce. From Castle Hill, you are treated to one of the most breathtaking panoramic views of the Riviera. The deep blue of the Mediterranean strikes a gorgeous contrast against the warm ochre facades and the lush green of the palm trees. Nice represents a refined way of enjoying life. Unpretentious, unhurried, simply letting time slip away to the gentle rhythm of the sea. Our next destination possesses a more understated beauty. A small village where art found a sanctuary. A place where one of the 20th century's most original painters discovered an endless source of inspiration. Welcome to Cadaqués. Tucked away on the Catalan coast, shielded by mountains that made land access difficult for centuries, lies one of the most charming villages in the Spanish Mediterranean, Cadaqués. Its geographical isolation helped preserve a unique identity. For generations, it was a community dedicated primarily to fishing. Its whitewashed houses, facing the sea, mirror the intense Mediterranean light. Narrow cobblestone streets meander between small squares where you can still feel the tranquility of a bygone era. Yet, Cadaqués' true transformation arrived by way of art. At the dawn of the 20th century, countless writers and painters fell under the spell of this landscape. Chief among them was a figure who would change the history of surrealism forever, Salvador Dalí. Although the artist was born in the nearby town of Figueres, it was in the Bay of Portligat that he found his ultimate creative sanctuary. There, he built a whimsical residence that he continuously expanded over the years. Now converted into a museum, the house offers a glimpse into the intimate details of his life and reveals how the Mediterranean landscape profoundly shaped his artistic vision. The wind-worn rocks, the intensity of the light, the infinite horizon, everything seemed to nourish the painter's extraordinary creative genius. Yet even without Dalí's presence, Cadaqués continues to exert a powerful allure. Small boats resting on the sand, fishermen chatting by the harbor, terraces where time seems to stand still. This village invites you to slow down, to wander without destination, and to remember that some places possess a beauty so authentic they need no artifice to linger in the memory. Cadaqués proves that the Mediterranean also knows how to whisper, and that, at times, those whispers inspire some of the most extraordinary masterpieces of world art. From the dramatic cliffs of Positano to the elegance of Nice and the artistic serenity of Cadaqués, we have discovered three distinct ways of experiencing the Mediterranean. Three places where beauty takes on different forms. Yet our journey is far from over. In the next part, we will walk the imposing walls of Dubrovnik, the medieval jewel of the Adriatic. We will discover Montenegro's spectacular Bay of Kotor, ringed by mountains. And we will explore Valletta, the tiny capital of Malta, that for centuries guarded one of the most vital routes in the Mediterranean. 3 new destinations, 3 new stories, and many more reasons to keep sailing across this sea that has bound cultures together for millennia. Throughout history, the Mediterranean was far more than just a space for exchanging goods. It was also the stage for alliances, conflicts, and struggles for control over strategic routes. The walled cities that survive to this day are silent witnesses to that past. Their fortresses shielded merchants and citizens from invasions and pirates. Their streets echoed with dozens of different languages, and their ports welcomed vessels arriving from distant lands. In this stage of our journey, we will discover 3 jewels of the Adriatic and the central Mediterranean, destinations where time seems to have stood still amidst stone walls and crystal clear waters. Our first destination is a city that rose from adversity to reclaim its former splendor. Welcome to Dubrovnik. Few Mediterranean cities manage to leave such an immediate impression as Dubrovnik. Rising above the Croatian coast, its walls seem to emerge directly from the sea. For centuries, it was known as the Republic of Ragusa, a small yet phenomenally prosperous city-state that managed to maintain its independence through a combination of diplomacy, commercial skill, and imposing fortifications. While other territories were conquered or absorbed by great empires, Dubrovnik forged its own unique identity rooted in maritime trade. While other territories were conquered or absorbed by great empires, Dubrovnik forged its own unique identity rooted in maritime trade. Stretching nearly 2 kilometers in length and several meters thick, they completely encircle the historic Old Town. Walking atop them offers one of the most breathtaking panoramas of the Adriatic. On one side, the sea stretches out until it merges with the horizon. On the other, the iconic red-tiled roofs form a patchwork that seems frozen in another era. Inside the city walls, the Straton serves as the primary artery of daily life. Paved with limestone polished by centuries of footsteps, it connects squares, churches, and ancient palaces. However, Dubrovnik's recent history is also marked by pain. During the Croatian War of Independence in the early 1990s, the city suffered significant damage. Many historic buildings were hit by the bombardments, yet its inhabitants undertook an extraordinary restoration effort. In more recent years, new generations discovered its streets through the lens of film and television. Yet, beyond its contemporary fame, Dubrovnik remains a place where history and the sea are in constant dialogue. It is a reminder that even after the most difficult times, beauty can be reborn. Just a short distance from Croatia, there is a place where the mountains seem to embrace the sea, a bay so extraordinary that many consider it one of the most beautiful landscapes in the Mediterranean. Our next destination is Kotor. Upon arriving in Kotor, it is difficult to decide where to look. The sea reflects the silhouette of towering mountains that rise abruptly toward the sky. The ancient walls ascend the hillsides as if trying to reach the peaks, while the historic old town preserves the charm of the Middle Ages completely intact. The Bay of Kotor is, in reality, a complex system of inlets that carve deep into Montenegrin territory. Although often described as a fjord, its geological origin is entirely different. For centuries, Kotor fell under the influence of various powers, most notably the Republic of Venice. That heritage remains visible in its architecture and in numerous cultural details. Getting lost among its cobblestone alleys means discovering hidden squares, centuries-old churches, and stone facades weathered by the passage of time. Yet perhaps the most memorable experience is the ascent to St. John's Fortress. The more than 1,000 steps leading to the top demand both effort and patience. Yet every step is rewarded with increasingly spectacular views. From the summit, the bay reveals its full magnificence. The water resembles a mirror, boats glide slowly across its surface, and the mountains stand as a reminder of the vastness of nature surrounding this small human enclave. Kotor exudes serenity. It does not seek to impress through grand monuments or extravagance. Its magic lies in balance, in the harmony between landscape and architecture, and in the feeling of having discovered a treasure still sheltered from the noise of the modern world. Our next destination proves that size does not dictate historical significance. In the heart of the Mediterranean lies a tiny capital that played a decisive role for centuries. Welcome to Valletta. Covering less than half a square mile, Valletta is one of the smallest capitals in Europe. Yet its historical significance vastly exceeds its dimensions. Strategically located in the heart of the Mediterranean, Malta was coveted for centuries by empires and conquerors. Phoenicians, Romans, Arabs, Normans all left their mark on these islands. Yet it was the arrival of the Order of the Knights of St. John that would define much of its modern identity. After enduring the famous Great Siege of Malta in 1565, the Knights decided to build a new fortified city, a capital designed to withstand future attacks and symbolize their determination. Thus, Valletta was born. Its streets were laid out with remarkable precision. The imposing walls protected one of the Mediterranean's most vital natural harbors, while behind every facade lay hidden stories of faith, strategy, and survival. One of its greatest treasures is St. John's Co-Cathedral. From the outside, it may appear austere, but its interior astounds with extraordinary artistic wealth. Among its masterpieces, a famous canvas by Caravaggio stands out, widely considered one of the gems of European Baroque art. To wander through Valletta is to discover a city where a multitude of cultures converge. The Maltese language, with its Semitic roots and European influences, mirrors this extraordinary historical blend. The traditional enclosed balconies add personality to its facades, while the sweeping views of the Grand Harbor serve as a constant reminder of the intimate bond between Malta and the sea. Despite its small size, Valletta invites you to pause, to observe, and to understand how some seemingly small places can play immense roles in human history. From the resilience of Dubrovnik to the serenity of Kotor and the extraordinary history of Valletta, we have discovered cities where walls protected much more than mere territory. They safeguarded identities, traditions, and memories that endure to this day. But our journey through the Mediterranean is drawing to a close. In the next stage, we will contemplate the legendary sunsets of Santorini, where the fire of an ancient volcano shaped one of the most beautiful landscapes on the planet. And we will travel to the Gulf of Tunis to discover Sidi Bou Said and understand why so many travelers have been captivated by this place. Two more destinations, two final stories, and one last reflection on this extraordinary sea that, for thousands of years, has continued to connect continents and people. Our next destination is one of the most recognizable postcard views on the planet. Welcome to Santorini. Whitewashed houses clinging to rugged cliffs, blue domes reflecting the vastness of the sky, and a sea that seems to stretch into infinity. However, the beauty of this island was born from a devastating event. Approximately 3,600 years ago, a cataclysmic volcanic eruption radically transformed the landscape. The explosion was so powerful that it altered the island's original shape, creating an immense caldera flooded by the sea. Some researchers have even linked this event to ancient legends of lost civilizations, including the mythical Atlantis described by Plato. While this connection remains a subject of debate, it demonstrates how nature can fuel the human imagination for centuries. Today, Santorini is one of the world's most sought-after destinations. The town of Oia attracts thousands of visitors who gather each evening to witness one of the most famous sunsets on the planet. As the sun begins to descend, The white facades take on golden, pink, and orange hues. A hush seems to fall over the crowd, and for a few minutes, everyone watches the very same spectacle. Beyond its iconic postcard views, Santorini preserves traditions deeply rooted in the Mediterranean. Small family churches, vineyards adapted to the fierce winds, recipes passed down from generation to generation, and a hospitality that makes visitors feel like part of the community, if only for a few days. Santorini reminds us that even after the most absolute destruction, life finds unexpected ways to bloom, and that some of the greatest expressions of beauty are born precisely from the capacity to adapt. We say goodbye to Santorini and travel to our final destination, to a small village where white and blue dominate the landscape, a place where artists, writers, and travelers found inspiration facing the Mediterranean, and where every corner seems designed to contemplate the sea. Welcome to Sidi Bou Said. Perched on a hill overlooking the waters of the Gulf of Tunis, this small village is considered one of the most beautiful places in the Mediterranean. Its history dates back several centuries, to a time when the area began to develop around a sanctuary dedicated to a Sufi mystic known as Sidi Bou Said. With the passage of time, the village gradually acquired a unique personality. Its narrow streets began to fill with white houses adorned with doors and windows of an intense blue that would ultimately become its hallmark. Today, it is almost impossible to imagine the village any other way. Although it welcomes visitors from all over the world, the village preserves a relaxed atmosphere. From the terraces perched on the hill, the view stretches until it loses itself in the horizon. The Mediterranean appears immense, serene, eternal. The very same sea that for thousands of years connected continents, cultures, and civilizations. Perhaps that is why Sidi Bou Said represents the spirit of this documentary so well, because it proves that the grandeur of the Mediterranean is not found solely in major cities or the most famous monuments. It also lives in small places like this, villages where beauty arises from the harmony between people, history, and the landscape, and where every sunset seems to remind us that some wonders do not need to be monumental to remain forever in our memory. Our journey comes to an end, but the Mediterranean remains, breathing to the rhythm of the tides, uniting distant shores under a single sky. Throughout this journey, we discovered that there is no single way to live alongside this sea. Venice spoke to us of human ingenuity and the power of commerce. Cinque Terre reminded us of the beauty of simplicity. Positano taught us that some landscapes seem born of a dream. Nice revealed the elegance of enjoying life without haste. Cadaqués showed us how inspiration can spring from the quietest places. Dubrovnik symbolized resilience. Kotor invited us to contemplate the harmony between nature and architecture. Valletta reminded us that even the smallest cities can change the course of history. Santorini taught us that beauty can emerge from fire and transformation, and Sidi Bou Said reminded us that serenity, light, and color are also part of the great wonders of the Mediterranean. 10 cities and villages, 10 different stories, one single sea. Now we want to hear from you. If you could choose just one of these places to visit, which would it be and why? Leave us your answer in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey, join us for our next documentaries as we continue to discover some of the planet's most extraordinary places together. Thank you for sailing with us. Until our next destination.